Good morning, everyone. Nolan Bowerly, Bitcoiner, another episode of The Breakup, a show where we contrast the fiat standard with the Bitcoin standard and talk about the psychological engines that can help build our future. So, not exactly a trading US dollars for Bitcoin show, more like filtering the news through a lens that a Bitcoiner might find useful. For those of you who aren't Bitcoiners, this should help explain, I think anyway, the Bitcoin worldview when it comes to all kinds of different subjects. Today's subject, really important one, energy. US attitudes are changing pretty drastically towards nuclear power in particular. A recent poll just came out that showed that the change between 2018 and 2021 was about 37% of Democrats supporting nuclear energy to 60% today, so 23% increase. In the case of Americans overall, it went from about 49 to 59, so quite a large increase nevertheless. What you've got here is a situation where American public will is definitely bending towards nuclear energy. It could be the blackouts in California. It could be some major external event that changed this. There's a few explanations. We even see the Wall Street Journal just this weekend had a cover story saying, is nuclear power part of the climate change solution? So that's definitely out there. And people who take this subject seriously, global warming, certainly realize the potential for nuclear power. You've also got other countries now like France, Holland, the Netherlands, England. Rolls-Royce in England has announced they'll be making small modular nuclear reactors. France has said they're going to dot the whole landscape with these things. So a lot of momentum behind that. You've also got China. They said just this week they've created a nuclear reaction that is 4 times hotter than the sun. They're going to be using this in space, it turns out. So this is, I guess, going to be a space energy resource. So if we're going to do nuclear, you need specific ways of making it in space. Looks like they found out one way. So this is going on all the time. So if you're gonna look at it, you're gonna say, "Wow, America is on the brink of a nuclear revolution, right? Everything's going to change." Maybe not. Maybe not. Here's my infograph for the day. So another piece of information came to me this week that I was unaware of. The Nuclear Regulation Commission. Is that really what it's called? The Nuclear Regulatory? No, the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission, right? So the NRC. It was developed in 1975 and is the ultimate approval for commercial applications of nuclear power. So created in 1975, so 45 years, 47 years old. How many nuclear power plants do you guess in that amount of time they've approved? Right? It's got to be a lot. I mean, America, right? They make stuff. They got this thing created just to do nuclear power. So how many do you think it is? It's zero. It's zero. They've been created for 47 years to do one thing, approve nuclear power plants, and they've done nothing. So whether it's corruption, I don't know. We're not even going to bother learning about what's going on here. The point is it's a major obstacle. What it looks like right now when you want to develop nuclear power in America is you've got the first 2 years, so this is a scale on years. You've got the design, so what kind of nuclear reactor you're going to use, the site, where it's going to be, what are the considerations, then of course you have to put the application together. You get that in about 2 years. Then the NRC reviews it. That takes 4 years of review from the NRC. If you get the NRC review, then you get to open up to public review and hearings. I guess important, right? We don't want to be building these things without the confidence of the people around, right? This isn't a violence thing. We're not going to impose nuclear power on people. So there's got to be that. And then plant construction takes time. So we're looking at about 10, post 10 years, you're going to be you're actually going to be generating commercial energy. So 10-year delay, what it looks like today, if you get one. So just this week we saw Oklo, I guess it's called. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've read about them quite a few times, but they're a startup trying to do small modular nuclear reactors in California. A Bitcoin miner has actually signed an agreement with them to produce and mine Bitcoin with their small modular nuclear reactors in the future when they get permission to do so. And what happened last week? Well, the NRC has rejected yet another application. So Oklo, who would have been Bitcoin mining, asked for this permission to build their small modular nuclear reactors, and they were denied. Again, not enough information, so they got this 2 to 6 year review period, and no way, not going to happen. So what are we supposed to do, right? We've got America that seems like the spirit of the people wants to see nuclear, but we have these regulatory commissions that are there. and make it difficult. So what are we going to do? What's the normal thing you do? Oh, you got to go get some Democrats, you got to get some Republicans, and then you got to lobby. Fuck that noise. That sounds as boring as possible, right? We've been down that road as Bitcoiners for years. Kind of the point of Bitcoin is that they can all fuck off. Pardon my language if there's children around. I should have warned you first. We really like to swear too much on the show, but sometimes it happens. They can beat it, right? We don't need them. Losers. What are we going to do? Go to Washington and lobby all these people? They haven't even put one out in 47 years. What do you think? We're going to get it. We're going to be the ones big because they love us in Washington, D.C. They're just going to love us. We're going to get some people on this side and that side, and everything's going to work out. Ain't going to happen, right? Ain't going to happen. But because Bitcoin stands to be the largest private buyer, I predict the largest private buyer of small modular nuclear reactors in the world, because these are going to be the first nuclear reactors that actually have these commercial applications, right? They're not for countries in the way, or cities, or population centers, or anything that we've recognized before. Bitcoin can stand as a sole private buyer, probably the largest commercial buyer for this whole proliferation of small modular nuclear reactors. Now, there are a few places in the world, one in particular that I can think of, here in North Africa, south of Morocco, that we consider non-self-governed territories. There's a dispute, maybe Morocco wants some, but this land, Western Sahara, in the Sahara Desert, is one of the most sparsely populated places on Earth. And there is no formal government. There's a couple little cities, 200,000 people, the whole area about the size of Italy, the state of Colorado, about all of New England, so it's about the size of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, all combined, right? The state of Colorado, the state of New Mexico, just, to give you more references. It's a large piece of land. Only 500,000 people in total living there. Very small population. Almost completely uninhabitable because it's desert, right? But remember, if Bitcoin miners are buying nuclear reactors, they're not really to serve as population centers. So you can actually start considering building these places far, far away from human population centers, like a desert that's completely uninhabited. Right? You can do that. You can put it in a desert that's completely uninhabited. And what happens next? So you've got a nuclear reactor. You've got this potential to, a buyer. You've got a reason to put it in the desert, and now you have no one to ask. There is no government. There's no one to ask permission to. You probably need a few people there. Right? You can't just run a nuclear reactor and a Bitcoin mine simultaneously in the desert without humans. The good news is Bitcoiners, with their carnivorous diets and their love of steak, can actually bring their food source to the desert, and it can become one of the greatest terraforming technologies. Believe it or not, cows and cow poo are incredible terraforming technologies. We've been doing it for centuries, where if you put livestock at the edge of a desert and green land, the green land will actually start growing and taking over the desert because of the fertility of the poo, right? Cow poo. So you put it there, you get some mushrooms from it too, which is not a bad bonus. So bonus mushrooms, but you get the food source. So you bring the Bitcoiners there, you bring their food source, and you use the excess energy from the plant to actually start developing terraformation technologies. You could actually start taking over the desert, build viable green spaces where we can increase the yield of farming and the yield of the human footprint in a way that is absolutely sustainable, because we're not creating any new greenhouse gases. We're building money that will help the system work without all of these institutions that you would otherwise require. And you have the potential now to at once fuel the private nuclear energy industry and terraformation industries simultaneously. So that's today's show. You'll be able to see this article as well about why we need to just break up and don't even bother with the DC lobby game. Go elsewhere. Go to Africa. Go to the Sahara Desert, where nobody is going to be waiting for our applications, and we can just build nuclear reactors and mine Bitcoin. That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for your time.